Hello fellow punters, you're very welcome to the weekly Bookie Basher show with Mickey D, and presently we'll be joined by the Stig. I'll have a couple of tips for tomorrow later, and I'll have one for Cheltenham that I'll throw out to you as well, that I sort of think we should maybe back it before it runs next. And we have a different format from here to Cheltenham. We have 8 shows that'll bring us to the 2nd of March, which is a week before Cheltenham. We'll have a special, myself and the Stig, before, on the last show then, where we'll go through selections for each race. Well, he will anyway. Seeing that I'm tipping horses, I'll be going through each race on a daily basis. The format is, there's 4 days racing, and we're going to get 4 races on each day. So this week we're going to look at the first day. We're going to look at the Supreme, the Arkle, the Mayor's Hurl and the Champion Hurl. And I'm going to get the Stig to give his first and second choice as of right now in each race. And next week we'll go through the 4 races on Wednesday. The following week 4 races through Thursday. The following week 4 races through Friday. And then on the 5th week we'll return to where we're starting today at the Supreme and see what has changed in the meantime. And other horses will have come out and ran and won or lost. The Dublin Racing Festival will be over by then, and we'll see and get his opinion on and up to date as we go. So I hope by doing this that it'll help people to see how things can fluctuate market wise and opinion wise in the next couple of months. In 5 weeks' time as well, it'll be strictly a Cheltenham show each week, and I might have to do something separate with tips and other business as we have. But seeing that we have to do it for the next 4 weeks this way, this will be the format. So newcomers on the bus: Lee Edwards, H.G. Steele, Aidan Hanrahan, Chris Ryan. I think he must be a Langer. He was on about a train that didn't stop coming from Mallow. That reminds me of coming from a football match years ago. We were going through a neighbouring town, and there was a fella in the car, and he didn't want to even slow down. Never mind stop. So maybe the train driver or bus driver was similar. The Rose of Tralee was dressed more appropriately this time. No short skirt or high heels, dressed in pyjamas. Robin Darling is new, and a special happy birthday to Martin Tate's girlfriend Donna. He went on with a cake at the bus there a while ago, and it was the full of a wheelbarrow. Tommy Plunkett was the last one. We always know Tommy when he boards the bus because he's always singing "Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up." I'll go to the Stig right now and ask him what tickled his fancy in the past week.
So 3 horses across the past week were horses that tickled my fancy, and the first horse ran in the 1240 in Sandown on Saturday, and is a horse called Love Envoy. Now I mentioned Love Envoy later on in the show, but I thought her performance on Saturday was visually very impressive. She tanked her way through the race, given no option to Johnny Burke but to take up the lead a lot further from home than he would have ideally liked. She jumped well throughout, quickened on heavy ground, which is quite difficult to do, and beat Martello Sky, who's a decent yardstick, but the only concern I would have with that is that Wadham's horses are under a bit of a cloud at the moment, but she's definitely a live contender in the Mayor's Hurdle this year. The next horse that tickled my fancy is a horse in the same colours as Love Envoy, owned by the Noel Feely Syndicate, and it was the horse who won the Talworth Tamuras. Now this horse, despite doing almost everything wrong in the straight, won quite well. His last 2 jumps were abysmal. He strayed off a straight line and still won by 2.5 lengths. It's quite hard to know what he beat, as Arctic Brazil bombed out and Authorised Speed scoped dirty after. He can only beat what's in front of him though. And just a quick one on Henry's horses. The last few that have gone over to England, more recently A Plus Tard and him, have run terribly. So clearly something amiss there, and something to be wary of, I suppose, when looking at Henry's horses over the next couple of days and maybe next week or so. The next horse that tickled my fancy was in the 120 in Naas, which was appreciated. Now, he wins as you would expect him to win at 1-9, but he's just a very assured jumper of a fence. And the reason I wanted to put him in this week is very much that he's on my radar as a horse I want to get into my anti-post Cheltenham bets. I already sided with Dysart Dynamo, which I'll talk about later on in the show, at 16s for the Arkle, but I've always thought Appreciated would be the one that would take the step up in trip with a more look at the turners. He's currently 10-1, and I may have a dabble on him for that race, hoping that that will be the direction he will take. He's 9-2 non-runner no bet, so I might also explore that avenue as well. But he's the type of horse that if he is the one to take the step up, one of his horses or two of his horses will have to step up in trip. He's a horse you could be looking at 2-1 or shorter on the day.
Thanks very much for that, Stig. As informative as ever. And seeing that I'll get back to you again and see, have you any horse to notebook? You've done really well with those lately, including, you mentioned about 4 or 5 weeks ago, called the Horla. That was a great punt last week. 3-1 into odds on, and one with his head in his chest, or on the snaff, as they say. So you had Green Glory as well. That's running on Saturday. It's gone up £16. It's running in the Lanzarote.
Yeah, Mickey, one horse entered my tracker this week, and he ran in the 340 in Chepstow on Sunday, and it's a horse by the name Walk in the Woods from the Evan Williams stable. If you get a chance, I advise our listeners to go back and just watch this race, and in particular watch this horse and see how he was ridden. The horse is barely in shot for the majority of the race and is nowhere inside the shot when they turn into the straight, and finishes beaten 21 lengths in the end. It's not a case of will this horse win a race, it's more when this horse will win a race, and when Evan Williams decides to let off the handbrake. It's definitely one to keep an eye on in the future, especially when money comes for it.
Thanks for that. We'll stay with you now, and we'll go to the first race on the Tuesday of Cheltenham, the Supreme Novice Hurl. What are your feelings on this race as of right now?
So over the next few weeks, we're going to look at a few races each day for the Cheltenham Festival, and obviously we're going to start off with day one, and the first race we're going to look at is the Supreme Novice Hurdle. Now, everybody knows on the show how much of a fan I am of Facile Vega. He's probably my favourite horse in training, and the one I'm most excited about for the next few years, and of course I think he's going to win the Supreme. And people crabbed his performance the last day, but if you listen to Danny Mullins talk, I can't remember what I listened to him on, but he talked about how himself and Mark Walsh didn't want to get too close to Facile Vega and basically light him up and put them to the pin of the collar very early in the race. So they left him alone for as long as possible, allowed him to be on his own, hoping that he'll idle. And David said that he was going to have, or Danny, sorry, said he was going to have one belt at him and one go at him. He had one go at him, and Facile Vega went clear. All of a sudden, Ilete Tomp was off the bridle, and Facile Vega's pulling 5 or 6 clear. So I think he'll win the Supreme. Looking in behind, Marine National 100% is a worthy second favourite, and he's probably the most likely danger to Facile Vega. There isn't anything in behind, depending on where the other Willie Mullins horses go. And looking at the market itself, you're looking at horses that probably aren't going to turn up, and otherwise that you're looking at maybe High Definition turning up, Tamuras might turn up, Impere Pass, depending on where he goes. Will Authorised Speed go here? Will he go up in trip? So there's a lot of unknowns in the market. So the first two that are in the market are positioned correctly. I think they'll probably finish 1 and 2.
Interesting stuff there, Stig. Now we'll keep you busy again. Onto the Arkle. I know that you have a good opinion on this. So the Arkle, please.
Moving on then to the Arkle. And I'm going to split opinions in this race. I can't have John Bond at all. He's been impressive, of course, but my mind goes back to El Fabiolo last year, an entry coming there off the back of one run and almost Nottingham to win that day. So the two horses that I'll be keeping an eye on for the Arkle, everyone knows I've talked about Dysart Dynamo in the past, and I've backed him a few weeks ago at 16s for it. He's my idea of the Arkle winner. Again, for reasons I've mentioned before, such as the electric pace he has. I almost feel you need a horse that's a bit quirky to win these type of races. And the other horse that I would be hugely afraid of if he ran in this race would be El Fabiolo. And I know that they really, really like El Fabiolo. If you listen to Daryl Jacob on the road to Cheltenham a few weeks ago or last week, he said he would go to war with any horse if he was on El Fabiolo. So he obviously rates him very, very highly. And of course, he'd be a big danger. So I think the winner of the Arkle will come from the Willie Mullins stable. I'm hoping Appreciate It will take the step up and trip and go towards the Turners. But my two selections at this very moment in time would be Dysart Dynamo will be my number one, and my second, if he goes there, will be El Fabiolo. So I think Willie holds all the keys in the Arkle this year.
Thanks for that. I will see in a month's time. Have you any different opinion on that? I'm going to throw out a horse here for the passengers. There's a race on Sunday, the Punchestown Novice Chase, Grade 3. It was won by Bob Ollinger last year, who won the Turners luckily when Gallopin de Champs fell at the last. It was won the previous year by Envoy Alain, who went off 4-9 favourite for the Turners and who fell for the first time at that. I think the change of stable prior to the meeting could have really set the cat among the pigeons with that fella's head. Willie Mullins won it with Carefully Selected in 2020. That went off favourite for the National Hunt Chase. And the 2018 Invitation Only. And that was going well when it sprawled on Landon. I'm interested in a horse, Hodor. It's a 6-year-old French bred. It has ran only 8 times. In his first 2 run-ins, it was third behind Zanahir in a hurdle race, and it was pitched into a Grade 1 company then, and it was 5th behind Calixios. So it ran against strong opposition from the start. It was second into El Fabiolo last start over hurdles in April of last year in Punchestown. And it has 1 run over fences, and I thought it was very impressive. He went out in front and he beat the Goffer handy enough by 11 lengths. And that was rated 140 over hurdles. So if you consider beating 140 horse, let's call him 135 over fences for argument's sake, beat him by 11 lengths. That'll be pushing him up to close to the 150 mark. It's 16-1, non-runner no bet with William Hill, and it's 20-1 elsewhere with other bookies. That's not guaranteed odds. That's anti-post. I think that Hodor, if he wins on Sunday, he could be clipped into maybe 8-1 or that. And I think maybe James de Burley could be the RSA or whatever you call it now. That was second to Classical Dream in 2021 in the Stayers hurl. So I think that could be Willie's horse for the 3 mile and Hodor. So I'm just throwing that out there if anyone might be interested in anti-post bet. I won't be doing too many of these now, but I have a couple in mind before the run again. Now we'll go back to the Stig again and get his views on the Mayor's Hurdle. Your first and second, please.
The Mayor's Hurdle, and the winner of the Mayor's Hurdle I think is Brandy Love if she gets there. Now it's a big if. She's going to go there with no run, so she's going to go there fresh, and hopefully the absent won't hinder her chances. She's short enough, she's around 5 or 6-1 I think for it, but she's my idea of the winner. Marie's Rock was impressive the last day, but I just don't think she's the same class as a Brandy Love. Love Envoy was also very good the last day, but she got her ideal conditions, and I don't think beating Martello Sky is going to be the winning of this race. And the horse that I would give an honourable mention that I think will play a big role in the race is Queen's Brook. Now I know she was beaten the last day by She Wears It Well, but I think Queen's Brook comes to the fore and comes to her peak around the springtime and around March. She knows when the Cheltenham Festival is, Gordon Elliott knows when the festival is, and I think that will be the horse that will fill the frame at a bigger price, around 14-1.
And finally back to the Stig, and we'll get his views on the Champion Hurdle.
Moving on then to the Champion Hurdle. This will be very quick. There's going to be one winner, and it's going to be Constitution Hill. How far does he win by? Depends on how far Nico de Boinville wants him to win by. I think Honeysuckle, her reaction to her Hatton's Grace was an overreaction. This horse has been put to the pin of her collar by Ronald Pump, which is a horse you wouldn't even probably see at Cheltenham this year in that race. So I wouldn't take that form very literal, and I wouldn't take that run out of context. She's going to be bang there in the Champion Hurdle. I think she'll win the Irish Champion Hurdle. I'd fancy her to beat Stateman, and I also think that she will come second in the Champion Hurdle. It's going to be a close race in behind between the likes of Stateman and Honeysuckle. But Honeysuckle will be the one I go for. She's been there, she's done that. She gets the £7, and I think hopefully she'll get there, and hopefully she'll take her place. The one I took out of the run in Leopardstown between Stateman and Vauban was actually Vauban for his first run back. And listening to Willie before the race, he talked about how he'd come on for the run, and Connections weren't really expecting a big run. I thought he ran a big race.
Thanks for that. I have a couple for tomorrow, and we'll get back to the Stig then for his nap selections for the weekend. There's the 120 at Sedgefield tomorrow, is a novice handicap chase. Betty Ballou is a mare that I backed a couple of times before. One run over fences was third. It has ran in Sedgefield 3 times. I think it was third twice and second. But I thought Son of Sam, 2 runs over fences. And he ran over nearly 3 miles the last day. Remember, we picked a horse out of this, Lord Rocco, who ran pretty well for us. He was second the time after as well.
With the help of the rail, Son the Somme coming right back through once again for more. Little between the leading duo again as they go over the 5th from home. Malinello, Son of the Somme. Break of 2 lengths now to Big Difference, who's driven on the inside of Lord Rocco. Shantou Lucky is always just about being last. They're on the sweeping turn back towards home, going inside the final half mile. Malinello on the outside of Son of the Somme. Son of the Somme has the lead now of about a neck of Malinello in second. They've got 3 lengths now over Lord Rocco, who is in third, and then Shantou Lucky on the outside of Big Difference. Over the final open ditch, Malinello has wrestled the lead once again from Son of the Somme as they race on now down towards the 3rd from home. Malinello and Luca Morgan at 3 out, led by a length and a half over Son of the Somme over in second. Lord Rocco trying to rally back in third. He's only got 3 lengths to find, coming down towards the second last. Malinello reaches for it, but his lead extends to nearly 3 lengths over Son of the Somme in second. Lord Rocco, and they're a long way clear of Shantou Lucky. Down towards the final fence, Malinello comes to it, shortens into it. The lead reduced to only a couple of lengths. Lord Rocco towards the near side. Son of the Somme over on the far side. Malinello needs the line. On the outside, Lord...
He didn't do a lot wrong there and finished... I thought the step back and trip to 2.5 might suit. In Huntingdon, Perseus Way was third in a Group 1 and on soft ground to comfort zone. Before that, skated up in a maiden hurl, a juvenile hurl, and it was second to the scriptwriter first time out. I thought that an 11 to 8 could be included in bets. There's a couple at Meydan for those people. The horse there is paying 5 places is a Positive Impact for the Christophers, and they're absolutely on fire. It's a lightly raced horse. I thought it 11 to 1 for anyone that wanted to have a bet in Meydan in the last race tomorrow. And in the big race at Meydan, well, not well, big enough, is the big horse tomorrow is out, Bindoog, second the last time to a stablemate who had been 6th in the World Cup last March to Country Grammar. Remorse. Now the horse was third first Constitution. It was his first run after leaving Todd Pletcher. But Bindoog is a front runner and he won the time before. He's a huge horse. It's well worth a look at that race tomorrow. Never mind if you're not having a bet. If he ever move his legs a bit faster, like myself, he could go places. Finally, back to the Stig. Have you a nap, a next best, and a each way selection for this week?
My nap comes in the 2.12 in Fairyhouse on Saturday, and it's a horse called Cayd Boy, currently priced around 2 to 1. This horse has been keeping in some good company through his beginner's chases last season and was beaten by the likes of Blue Lord in Fairyhouse, and was also beat by a horse called Impervious, who is obviously one of the leading contenders in the mare's chase this year. He made a bad mistake 4 out in Fairyhouse the last day, which ruined his chances. I think that the experience that he had that day in handicap company will help him, and he'll go close to weekend. I also think Dunvegan will run a big race in the same race under Michael O'Sullivan, who's taken 5 off him. He's a double figure priced one, but off 10 stone 3, I'm going to stick with Cayd Boy in that race. My next best is Threeunderthrufive, who runs in the 3 o'clock in Warwick. on Saturday, currently priced at 11-2. So this is a right test for any horse, the distance and the track. And of course, it's dangerous going against the Willie Mullins horse in any race, but I think Mr. Incredible's jumping leaves a lot to be desired, and Warwick is a right test of jumping, especially down the back. He may have done wonders since getting him from Henry de Bramhout, but I've gone for a horse who jumps well, is unexposed at the trip, and has more upside for improvement. And the Nichols team couldn't be in better form at the minute, and I think this lad each way is a decent bet. My next best is a horse called Cobbler's Dream, who runs in the 240 in Kempton. He won at this meeting last year off 128. He went on then to come second to Banbridge in the Martin Pipe off 136. He's coming back to hurdles after 2 poor chase runs, but he's off a mark of 138. And at 16-1, I think he'll give a good running and hopefully be in the places at least.
That's it for another week. The week isn't going too bad. I forgot to say we had a double up there today. I think we had 2 seconds, a third, and 2 winners. The horse that won one race there, he had 4 P's and second over a spin over hurdles 5 days ago. How the hell could anyone pick that? But he cleared the Gee was second. Harrovian never ran, set it up for his stablemate. I suppose that was a setup. But we got out of jail with Kraken Power and drifted out to 11-4. And Harry Cobden just got up on the line to see or to get the double up. So anyway, the week isn't going so bad. So thanks to the Stig for another show, and we'll be back next week with some similar format. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Bash the bookies, over and out.